Keep Right with Ralph K. Ginorio. Post-Election Reflection 2025. This column is going to be printed on Veterans Day in the Kootenai Journal newspaper, so I'm going to be speaking as if it is November 11th rather than today, November 5th, 2025. On this Veterans Day in 2025, I reflect on our recent elections. It is, after all, for this system of selecting our leaders that our servicemen have risked their all. No one could possibly be worthy of the sacrifices made by those who have guarded our freedom. We can only look at those who serve with appreciation and gratitude. Only by shouldering our own responsibilities to perpetuate liberty can we truly say thank you. Did we each vote? Did we study that which was at stake sufficiently to make informed choices? Were we seriously thoughtful in our deliberations? Did our vote help strengthen freedom in these difficult times? Would we stake the lives of our loved ones upon the rectitude of our choices? Now, I recognize my own failings in these regards. I did vote, but not every single decision was as well-grounded in a systematic exploration of candidates and issues as they needed to be. My feet are certainly made of clay. I need to do better. On the national scale, results were depressing for conservatives. A man who wished murder upon the wife and children of his political opponents has now become the chief law enforcement officer of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Corrupt and scandal-ridden leftist Democrats won the gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey. An Islamist communist became mayor of the city, chiefly attacked by Islamist terrorists on September the 11th, 2001. Honestly, what else did we expect? These areas are all deeply Democratic, much as North Idaho is deeply Republican. Every major media organization prostituted their journalist integrity once again to support leftists, much as they have done for most of the past 50 years. Most schools and colleges indoctrinate innocents into captivity to a Marxist worldview without ever teaching students objectively about our shared Western civilization in these areas and across the country. I suspect that when the numbers settle, even in those high-profile elections, vast numbers of potential voters stayed home. This tends to favor narrow factions of passionate zealots over any great silent majority. The unusual election in these deep blue regions was in 2024, where Trump benefited from broadly held outrages over the conduct and policies of the autopen Biden-Harris administration. 2025 reasserted normality in these areas. The most significant of these results was the election in New York City. There, in the second largest city in all of North America, an overtly communistic and Islamist candidate defeated the disgraced and corrupt mainstream Democrat Andrew Cuomo. This former New York governor and son of a former New York governor was a deeply flawed candidate who really had no business running to be mayor of New York City. Republican Curtis Sliwa, who's given a lot of the blame for this, who founded the Guardian Angels, was barely even a factor in this race, earning about 8% of the vote, as he always does. The virulently pro-terroristic and anti-Semitic Islamo-Marxist Zohran Mamdani won just over 50% of the vote, with the youthful products of recent decades of politicized schooling putting him over the top. Much like Trump, Mamdani will quickly learn that his executive powers are strictly limited by the city council, the bureaucracy, the courts, and the U.S. Constitution. Still, he will do great harm to New Yorkers, to the reputation of New York City, and to a global economy in which New York City is a nexus. His supporters and victims will learn by hard experience precisely why socialism can never, ever make human life better. Sometimes pain is the greatest teacher. For some people, pain is the only teacher. Here in North Idaho, we have a Republican and conservative movement riven by hubris, an overweening pridefulness that invites defeat. Blinded by their own sense of factional rectitude, leaders of the two groups, the North Idaho Republicans and the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, have enabled one of the most conservative populations in the United States to be governed by nonpartisan moderates and progressives. This must stop. The Kootenai County Republican Central Committee has indulged in a bit of petty vainglory. Some assert that a cult of personality is growing up around Chairman Brent Regan. I haven't a clue whether there's any basis for these claims, but it is the sort of thing that KCRCC should endeavor to definitively refute. KCRCC's protracted support of Todd Banducci and company at North Idaho College and of Bela Kovac's failed term as county assessor have damaged the reputation of all concerned. Objective competence does really matter, and any candidate for elected office should be capable of effectively conducting the duties of that office. Now, on the other hand, the North Idaho Republicans need to demonstrate something more than the track record of its leaders. Instead of grounding their claim to legitimacy in the considerable accomplishments of their leadership, they need to focus more on fighting against the left-of-center status quo. In other words, they're doing too much of what KCRCC needs to do, focusing on competency rather than on convictions. Conservatives need both these days. If the North Idaho Republicans wishes to widen their appeal, they should adopt a Contract with America-like program for municipal and county affairs. They should advocate this program for conservative reform with verve and discipline during elections. More importantly, in office, NIR politicians need to demonstrate their commitment by implementing conservative reforms with an unmistakable dedication and firm resolve. This should include a real push to reduce social services, cut regulation, and eliminate grants which always have strings attached. NIR should consider that not everything that the Chamber of Commerce craves for the sake of economic growth is healthy for our community. North Idaho Republicans should be less like John McCain and Mitt Romney, who were ever willing to negotiate across the aisle to achieve compromise. Instead, the North Idaho Republicans should aspire to be more like Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump in eschewing compromise in favor of pursuing victory. Rightly or wrongly, what conservatives like me want is for the liberal and progressive default settings established by Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Lyndon Baines Johnson, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden and his auto pen to be identified, opposed, and overcome. This is what I mean by revolutionary conservatism. Right now, the KCRCC seems to be more fully engaged in energetically fighting for our society's soul at the local level than does the North Idaho Republicans. Until that changes, even with all of their real and imagined flaws, KCRCC will deserve ascendancy. I do not need my champions to be perfect. I do need them to be fully engaged in this fight. Until KCRCC fights with more common sense, and until the North Idaho Republicans is willing to admit to themselves that we're in a street fight for the soul of our culture, we will fail in our duty as our generation's guarantors of liberty. Thank you for listening. Good day.